Canada has somewhere around half of the fresh water in the world. Much of it's in the Great Lakes, and a lot of the rest of it runs north to the Arctic. Some Western Canadian farmers, and a lot of Americans, think the water that runs out to the ocean is just wasted. Robert Bourassa and a gang of engineers that are siding with him think it's wasted too. Bourassa and his gaggle of engineer henchmen have a scheme. It's called the Grand Canal Project. They want to dam the James Bay and turn it into a freshwater lake. Then they'll divert the water from the James Bay south, back it up through the Great Lakes, and with a series of dams and diversions, ship it to the United States. The price tag for this grandiose scheme is a mere $100 billion. By now you might have guessed that I don't think it's a very good idea. I think it's a stupid plan. Here are just some of the reasons why. I don't believe there is a human being, or even a group of us, who, even working with the biggest computer in the world, could come close to calculating the effects on the Earth of a project that size. Reducing the flow to the Arctic Ocean might lower its level, drop its temperature, and bring on an ice age. That may sound a bit far-fetched, but I've talked to more than one paleo-environmentalist who doesn't think so. And don't forget, the Russians already have major projects that move Arctic water south, and they're planning more. If we're both doing it, the danger is doubled. I remember back in the 50s when the Great Lake trout fishery was taking such a beating because of the lamprey eels. That's what happens when a strange species is introduced into a new environment. Well, now we have these geniuses of the drawing board mixing waters, and therefore every kind of water plant and animal from all over the continent. It could make the lamprey eel problem look like skinny underfed boy. Technically oriented people seem to see the North as a wasteland. We can't get at it to consume or have dominion over it in some way, so it isn't worth anything. But diverting vast amounts of water that would normally run into the Hudson's Bay would have a horrible impact on James and Hudson's Bay areas. When you tamper with water levels, or change salt water to fresh, or the other way around, it can destroy the habitat for literally everything from birds to fish to mollusks to teeny little microbes. Water affects the weather. People living in an area where a dam gets built know that especially well. Local weather patterns change after the dam is built. I wonder what happens to the weather when a project the size of the Grand Canal comes along. I don't know, and I'll guarantee you the engineers planning the project don't know either. There are all kinds of other reasons to worry about a project this size, like displacing people, flooding land, building dams that will silt up in a few years and have water with high mercury content. That happens with dams, but the planners usually forget to mention it. Then there's the question of the need for water to begin with. Nations with very little water, like Israel, get by on a teeny fraction of what we say we need. And Israel irrigates almost as much farmland as Canada. Some of its water-saving technology has been tried in the United States, and it works amazingly well. Imagine what would happen if we put the Grand Canal budget into research for water conservation. My last objection is a financial one. Bourassa says Canada will make all kinds of money selling water to the United States under this scheme a dream of his. But the Grand Canal promoters already have their hands out for almost $1 million tax money from the federal government for research studies. If you think the drain on the Canadian taxpayer's pocket will stop there, I've got a bridge in Brooklyn I'd like to talk to you about. The Montreal Olympics could no more lose money than Jean Drapeau could get pregnant, remember? At least the Olympics didn't cost $100 billion. There was a federal inquiry into Canada's fresh water a year or so ago. The committee even put a book out last fall called Currents of Change. The book stresses conservation, care for the environment, and easy on the diversions. I agree. I hope the federal government does too. I'm Noel McNaughton.